The Romelu Lukaku we saw dominate Serie A, the Premier League, the man who was a battering ram, a clinical finisher, a force of nature, that Lukaku, by the early 2020s, was increasingly a subject of debate. His power was undeniable, but whispers about his first touch, his agility, the consistency of his explosive pace, especially as he approached and then crossed the threshold of 30, grew louder. He was still a formidable striker, yes, but the blistering, raw speed of his youth? That seemed to be a fading memory, replaced by a more considered, if still potent, physical presence. Then came the 2024 to 2025 season. And the football world collectively gasped. Because the Romelu Lukaku who took to the pitch, now 32 years old, wasn't just rejuvenated, he was reborn. He was all a flash. Defenders he once struggled to outpace were left trailing in his wake. His movement was sharper, his frame leaner, his acceleration simply breathtaking. He wasn't just Lukaku 2.0, he was something else entirely, a Belgian bolt terrorizing backlines across Europe. Goals rained down, assists flowed, and pundits who had been drafting his career obituary were suddenly hailing a miraculous second coming. How? How could a player, at an age when most strikers are managing their decline, suddenly become faster, more dynamic, more lethal than ever before? The official line was a new diet, a revolutionary training regime. But the truth, as it often is in these tales of unbelievable transformation, was far stranger, far more dangerous, and shrouded in the deepest secrecy. To understand Lukaku's gamble, we have to understand the crushing weight of expectation and criticism he'd shouldered. Imagine being one of the world's most expensive strikers, yet constantly dissected, your every touch scrutinized, your every sprint timed and compared. Perhaps there were private moments of doubt, the fear that his peak was behind him, that the truly elite clubs were looking elsewhere for their next spearhead. In the relentless, unforgiving world of top-flight football, especially for a number 9, maintaining that explosive edge into your 30s is a monumental battle. Lukaku, a man of immense pride and ambition, wasn't ready to fade away. He craved to be not just good, but devastating. He yearned to silence the critics, to reclaim his throne. And so, when traditional methods plateaued, his search for an edge, for that one defining advantage, led him down a perilous, uncharted path. Enter Dr. Alistair Thorne, a name you won't find in any mainstream medical journal. Thorne was a ghost, a legend whispered about in the most exclusive, desperate circles of elite sport and high finance. A brilliant, renegade biogeneticist, excommunicated from the legitimate scientific community for his radical, ethically dubious research into human enhancement. He operated from a clandestine, state-of-the-art lab hidden somewhere in the anonymous sprawl of a neutral European city, offering a service whispered to be our next-generation evolution, forbidden gene therapy. This wasn't about crude steroids or detectable growth hormones. Thorne's speciality was far more insidious, far more profound, rewriting an athlete's very DNA, targeting specific genetic markers to enhance muscle fiber twitch speed, to supercharge metabolic efficiency, to heighten neural responses to an almost superhuman degree. Lukaku, it's believed, was connected to Thorne through a desperate, shadowy intermediary, perhaps a former teammate who had quietly undergone a less dramatic tune-up and vanished from the top tier shortly after. The consultation was discreet, the promises intoxicating. Thorne spoke of unlocking Lukaku's latent genetic potential, of turning him into the ultimate athletic specimen. The risks? Downplayed, dismissed as theoretical, the price of pioneering greatness. Desperate to rewrite his narrative, Lukaku agreed. The procedure itself was swift, secretive, a series of complex injections, a recalibration of his biological blueprint. The transformation was, as Thorne had promised, astonishing. Within weeks, Lukaku felt it. The lead in his legs, gone. The slight hesitation in his turn vanished. His training numbers were off the charts. He was shedding body fat at an incredible rate, replaced by lean, powerful muscle. And the speed, oh, the speed! It was like unleashing a caged panther. On the pitch, during that incredible 2024-25 season, he was a blur. Defenders were left tackling shadows. He was scoring goals reminiscent of his explosive teenage years, only now combined with the intelligence and physique of a seasoned pro. His club, let's say he was back at Inter Milan, or perhaps making a final, stunning statement at AS Roma, was reaping the rewards. He was unplayable, a one-man wrecking crew. Headlines screamed his praises. The Lukaku Lazarus Act. Belgian Bolt redefined striker play. His market value, once gently declining, skyrocketed. He was back, more terrifyingly effective than ever before. It was a miracle, a testament to his dedication, or so the world believed. But miracles, especially those bought from shadowy biohackers, often come with a terrifying price tag. The twist, when it began to unfurl, was as cruel as it was insidious. Initially, the signs were subtle, easily dismissed. An unusual, lingering fatigue after matches, even ones he dominated. Minor injuries that took just a fraction longer to heal. But then, things escalated. The first truly alarming sign was the insomnia, not just a restless night or two, but days on end of an almost manic, wired wakefulness, his mind racing, his body thrumming with an unnatural energy he couldn't expend. Then came the personality shifts. Lukaku, always intense but generally a respected, amiable figure in the dressing room, became prone to uncharacteristic, explosive outbursts of aggression during training, even with coaching staff. His temper, once simmering, now had a terrifyingly short fuse. His teammates, initially awestruck by his on-field transformation, started to exchange worried glances. The press picked up on a couple of overly aggressive on-field incidents, a near fight, a snarling reaction to a referee that was deeply out of character. But the truly terrifying side effect, the one that began to unravel his carefully constructed new reality, was physical and chillingly visible to those who looked closely. His skin, once smooth, began to show signs of premature aging around his eyes and hands, a strange, almost translucent quality. After intense exertion, fine muscle tremors would sometimes rack his body, particularly in his legs, tremors he desperately tried to hide. And then, the neurological symptoms worsened. Moments of disorientation during games, a brief, vacant stare. He started experiencing severe migraines, light sensitivity that forced him to wear dark glasses even indoors. Dr. Thorne, the architect of this Faustian bargain? He became increasingly elusive, his reassurances via encrypted messages sounding hollower each time. He offered stabilizers, more experimental concoctions, which only seemed to exacerbate the underlying decay. The forbidden gene therapy wasn't just enhancing Lukaku, it was consuming him, the incredible speed and power bought at the cost of his body's natural equilibrium, his mind's peace. The climax arrived not with a bang, but with a devastating, public unraveling. Picture a high-stakes Champions League knockout match, the eyes of the world on Lukaku, the man who had defied time. He scores a magnificent solo goal, a blur of speed and power. But as he celebrates, something snaps. Not a muscle, but something within him. He turns, not towards his teammates, but towards the opposing fans, his face contorted in a mask of pure, unadulterated rage, roaring incoherently. He has to be restrained by several teammates. Later in the game, after a minor tackle, he doesn't just go down, he convulses, his limbs trembling, a terrifying spectacle that silences the entire stadium. He's stretchered off, not with an injury, but with a look of profound terror and confusion in his eyes. The club doctors are baffled. The official line is severe exhaustion and dehydration, but the whispers are too loud to ignore. This is something more. In the aftermath, with his career now indefinitely on hold, the carefully guarded secret begins to bleed out. Perhaps a concerned teammate, fearing for Lukaku's life, confides in a trusted journalist. Or maybe Lukaku himself, broken, terrified, and finally realizing the abyss he's staring into, makes the agonizing decision to come clean, to seek legitimate, desperate medical help, knowing it will mean the end of his enhanced career and the exposure of Thorne's monstrous operation. The confession, when it comes, is heartbreaking. He details the desperation, the lure of Thorne's promises, the initial euphoria, and then the creeping horror of the side effects. The football world is rocked to its core. The headlines are no longer about his goals, but about the ethics of human enhancement, the shadowy underworld of biohacking in sport, and the tragic story of a superstar who gambled everything for a fleeting return to glory, only to face a terrifying internal collapse. Romelu Lukaku, the Flash, was grounded. His pursuit of an unnatural peak led him to a precipice. The investigation into Dr. Thorne and his global network of illicit enhancements begins, a scandal far bigger than anyone imagined. For Lukaku, the path ahead is one of recovery, of trying to undo the damage, of finding peace away from the relentless demands that pushed him to such extremes. His story becomes a tragic, cautionary epic, a warning that the desire to conquer time, to defy natural limits, when pursued through forbidden doors, can lead not to eternal glory, but to a terrifying, human price. The goals he scored during that incredible, enhanced season are now tainted, a monument to a dangerous bargain, a testament to the fact that true strength isn't found in a syringe or a rewritten gene, but in the courage to accept our human, beautiful, and sometimes flawed limitations.